Now, I ain't one to gossip, but I will bring you the tea. Welcome to Chronicle Speak.
Wendy Williams had her husband Kelvin Hunter in his feelings last weekend. Radar Online is reporting that Kelvin called the cops on Wendy. So this went down on 420. So let's go ahead and blame this on the possibility of Kelvin being a little high, because they say him and Sharina be gone off that ganja honey, allegedly. So Kelvin was at the house that both he and Wendy shared. Mind you, Wendy had already got her own place, and Kelvin had his place that he was sharing with Nikki, aka Sharina Hudson, but they both still have belongings inside of the home to get out. So Kelvin is over there getting his stuff, and Wendy showed up with a moving truck, and she started packing up items as well to take to her new place. Now Kelvin, being in his feelings, demanded that the items be left alone. Now let me tell you something, honey. How in the world are you going to break my heart, have a baby on me, and be splurging on another chick? You wouldn't be able to demand a thing, sweetheart. You take your potato head on somewhere else and get the hell out my face before I have to start busting a cap up in you. I'm telling you, he keep going down this wrong road, honey. The wrong road. Wrong road. Wrong road. Not only did Kelvin try to go off on Wendy, he also went off on the moving company, telling them to vacate the premises. That's how you know Wendy has him bothered. Here's the thing. Oftentimes in divorces, if a man messes up, sometimes he just can't own it. He's mad at the woman when you need to be mad at yourself for allowing another woman to break up your happy home. Kelvin knows the road ahead will be a rocky one without Wendy, period. So the police report states that Kelvin Hunter called the police around 10:15 a.m. And guess who else was there? Their son, Kevin Jr. Okay, so this police report answered all my questions. There definitely isn't a Kevin Jr. because there is not a Kevin Sr. So Kevin is Kevin and Kelvin is Kelvin. End of story. Carry on. Also listed on the police report was a 26-year-old white male who was a mover for the moving company, and then listed on the police report was a friend of Wendy's who worked as security and was a buffer between both parties, trying to de-escalate the fallout. So according to the police report on 4/20/2019 at 10:15 a.m., Patrolman Waylon and I responded to, and he has the address, on a report of a family disturbance. On scene, we were met at the door by a Mr., and that's the name of the security guard, who stated he was there in charge of the security team for Mrs. Wendy Hunter. Security directed us into the residence where we were met with the caller, Mr. Kelvin Hunter. Mr. Kelvin Hunter stated that he is the husband of Miss Wendy Hunter. However, he was recently served with divorce paperwork a few days ago. Mr. Hunter called the Livingston Police Department for assistance today because Miss Hunter showed up with a moving truck and began packing items throughout the residence in order to move them to a new residence. Here's the thing. How are you going to call the police on me for getting my belongings out of my home when I never called the police on you when you allegedly whooped my tail? How are you upset with me taking belongings out of my home when you furnished a whole 4,000 square foot home with your mistress? Denzel, go ahead and holler at him one time for me.
You disloyal, fool-ass, bitch-made punk.
They said that Mr. Hunter demanded the items be left alone and the flat rate moving company vacate the premises. The officer said, I proceeded to speak with blank, who was there on the scene to keep the peace as a friend of Miss Hunter. Patrolman Waylon and I were able to come to a fair compromise with Mr. and Mrs. Hunter in regards to the content of the home. Miss Hunter agreed she would remove personal belongings from the residence to include her clothing, shoes, personal paintings, and spare bedroom furnishings. Mr. and Mrs. Hunter mutually agreed to these terms and further agreed that the remaining furnishings were to be undisturbed, inventoried, and valued at a later date. Wendy's a good one because we wouldn't have to value anything. The value is mines. Do y'all hear that? Mines with an S. It's mines. Now it also says that it should be noted that the couple's son, Mr. Kevin Hunter, was also on scene during this incident and was involved in the conversation relating to the removal of property. The moving company was advised on what items to remove and agreed to render his services with his workers. A check through dispatch via New Jersey Domestic Violence Central Registry was negative for Mr. Kelvin Hunter and Mrs. Wendy Hunter at the time of this incident, meaning Wendy ain't never called the cops on you, Kelvin. Kelvin, you just on some real sucker stuff right now. Take this L, go over there with Sharina, go over there with her failed businesses, and go sit down somewhere. Leave Wendy alone. The police report ended saying that all parties were satisfied with this course of action and all parties were advised to call the Livingston Police Department if they needed any further assistance. No further police action was taken. For one, Kelvin should not have been acting like that in front of his son, period. I don't care if he's 8, 18, or 8 months. He should not have been acting like that in front of his son. Secondly, if Wendy's coming there to take her stuff and you did her wrong and you've already bought a house with another chick that you've already furnished, what else could you possibly need? You need to be happy that Wendy didn't go in there and burn all your stuff up. Now, Kelvin is slowly but surely being removed from Wendy's life, and I honestly think that a controlling man like Kelvin will go crazy once he loses his grasp on everything. I told you she kicked him out of the house. He was scrubbed from his executive producer role on the show. Wendy took his name off of all of her accounts. Wendy allegedly hired famed television producer Bernie Young as her manager. Y'all remember Kelvin was her manager at once upon a time, and Bernie has had executive roles on the Rosie O'Donnell show as well as Martha Stewart's show. So the only way Kelvin could really hurt her, because he's not able to get to her physically, and that's to mess with her mental. Tough guys like Kelvin don't believe in calling the police. Believe me, him calling the police on her was a ditch effort to try to get to her. And the fact that her son stuck by her side all weekend, he knows what kind of man his dad is, and he's riding with his mom right now, and I honestly don't blame him. Y'all, I'm telling you, if Wendy really does come out with this book, this thing is gonna be so juicy, and I cannot wait to get the tea, honey. Now, if you all remember previously, it was reported that Kelvin allegedly tried to poison Wendy, and the police ended up coming to their home. Well, the other day, Wendy had an after show on YouTube. Now, on that after show, Wendy discussed some cupcakes possibly being poisoned, but they weren't poisoned, so she was going to give them to her crew and have one herself. Wendy tries to do these little things where she talks about something without really talking about something, just to let you know what the deal is. Take a listen to this.
So the woman who won eye candy, bye Dudley. The woman who won eye candy happened to have been the woman who gave me. Well, now she told me they were cupcakes. I saw on the box it said cupcakes from the Cupcake Man or something like that in Jersey. And like a legit place. So I know they're not poisonous. So I'm going to share them with the crew. See the crew table? I'm going to put them right down there after I take mine. Just a few.
Message!
Now, on Friday, Wendy went live on WBLS 1075, which is her old station, for a Hunter Foundation radiothon from 2 o'clock p.m. to 7 o'clock p.m. They were raising funds to continue providing treatment resources and help to those struggling with drug addiction and substance abuse. Although Wendy is no longer in her sober home, she's made it out, y'all. She's continuing to fight for her brothers and sisters, as she likes to call them, to make sure that they're no longer going through the struggle. Now, although this foundation is still in the Hunter last name, Wendy is not going to disown them. She's going to still continue to fight for her brothers and sisters, and I definitely commend Wendy for doing just that. Well, in the meantime, in between time, I want you guys to tell me what you think about this Wendy Williams and Kelvin Hunter situation. What do you think about Kelvin calling the police on Wendy for her trying to move her own belongings outside of the home? Do you think that he has any control over the belongings, or he should just walk out with what he came in with? And if you haven't already, let's discuss Wendy's new manager, as well as Kelvin possibly poisoning Wendy. Child, is so much to discuss. Just get down in the comments, and you know how we do. We'll talk about it down below. Now, before I end this video, I wanted to tell y'all about a company called Ash Kicking. Now, y'all know Miss Chronicles would not promote a company without doing one of those thorough Chronicle Speaks investigations, honey. And Ash Kicking definitely passed the test, y'all. Make sure you visit ashkicking.com for the best 100% all-natural home fragrance and beauty products, honey. And use my code Chronicles at checkout for an extra 15% off just for you. Also, make sure to check out XMoisture, which is a 100% organic moisturizer that destroys all your skin problems. Eczema, dry skin, rosacea, you name it, they got you covered. They also have before and after pictures. Check them out at www.xmoisture.com and tell them your girl Chronicle sent you.
And before you go, don't forget to hit the bell for notifications, like this video, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.